Hello there folks, welcome back to the Chap's Guide. My name is Ash and I am your host on this journey through men's style, self-development and personal grooming. Welcome back to Oak Lodge. Welcome back to another one of my special videos which I'm creating over the festive period to give you some entertainment, enlightenment and enrichment during a period where you may be spending a little bit more time at home in the bosom of your families, and where you perhaps may seek some rest from the bosom of your families in the internet. And I'm here to answer some of your questions which you have sent in to me when I asked you to do so. So let us answer some of these. Now my first question comes from the Modern Dandy, who asked me a rather simple thing. Do you play chess? It seems like a very chap thing to do. I do play chess, the Modern Dandy, and I've played chess since I was a boy. But I have to tell you, I do not play chess very well, which is a surprise to me because I tend to like strategy games and I tend to like games where you think several moves ahead. But actually, chess is not one which I have mastered. I remember teaching my young son to play chess when he was about, I'm going to say 9 or 10. And of course, chess is a fairly easy game to master, really. You know, there are only sort of so many pieces, they've all got their own individual moves, and once you learn the basics, then it becomes a game of tactics and strategy. And, you know, very quickly I found that my son, when he was 10, 11 years of age, I was not really much of a match for him because I tend to play, you know, just one move ahead. Perhaps that's my mistake. I do enjoy board games enormously, and I do enjoy perhaps more traditional ones. I've been really trying to master backgammon for quite a few years now on the subject of board games. I was given a backgammon set by a close personal friend of mine quite a few years ago. And ever since then, I've really struggled to sit down and learn entirely how to play it properly, because so few people can play backgammon in the modern world that there's nobody to teach you, and it's not really the same on the internet. But if anybody's got any advice for me on how to become at least an elementary backgammon player, I would be very interested to hear it. So there we go. I do play chess, but not very well. Next question from Canada Free. What are some of your favourite gear for hiking and camping? Maybe 3 or 5 things. Okay, hiking and camping. It's going to be the essentials, really. I mean, for me, you know, the absolute essential, shall we take aside from one's clothing and footwear? We'll take that as a given, that, you know, those sort of things are necessary and we'll choose those things on our own personal preference. But for me, the things which I take into the woods, firstly, it's always going to be a good bag of some kind, some carrying apparatus, be it a backpack or something of that nature. I tend to favour kit by the brand Osprey, which I've been using for many years. Quite rugged, ergonomic, fits the body well. You can get loads of stuff in it, and they come in all sorts of different sizes. So a really good backpack is a good starting point. And then to put into the backpack, one of my favourite things, you've seen it many times on my videos, is I use a volcano kettle when I'm out and about to brew up a cup of tea. And I don't have mine here with me at the moment because I've got my sort of stove and I'm boiling water as I wish. But a volcano kettle is that remarkable sort of receptacle which allows the fire to be built inside, so the draw of the flame goes straight up the middle and the water sits in a kind of aperture, a pocket if you will, around that sort of volcano effect, so that it heats up really swiftly, really efficiently. It doesn't take up a great deal of space in the bag. Mine is made of aluminium, so it's very light, and all you need to do when you're out and about is find some twigs or sticks, maybe a sheet of paper, stuff it into the bottom, light it up, and it'll boil water in no time at all. In my experience, one of the most efficient bits of kit I've ever had. So that's another thing. In addition to that, I would say a good bushcrafting knife is essential, and that's going to be something with a full tang, with a sort of I'm not going to say high carbon, I'm going to say a stainless steel blade is my preference. Carries the keenness of the edge maybe a little longer. It's a little more hard wearing against the elements as well. So a pretty good bushcrafting knife is an essential. Then a a ferrocerium rod, so a fire steel, which means you never have to worry about carrying matches or making fire in any other way. If you've got a knife and a ferrocerium rod and a Kelly kettle, you can pretty much survive anywhere you go. So I'm going to leave it at that, actually. Those are my simple but highly efficient items that I take with me when I'm out and about. Okay, so next question. And I'm rattling through these. Toby Tobyson. Toby asks, Ash, thanks for your great work and thoughts. What is your view on tweed trousers? Is this the way to go, or what do you recommend? Okay, tweed trousers. Okay, I don't own it. Oh, I do actually. I do own one pair of tweed trousers. The thing with tweed trousers, or tweed in general, is it is designed to add texture, pattern, and, you know, sort of just something a little bit more to one's outfit. Often colour as well. So they're quite powerful items, or quite powerful material, and it's often, you know, sort of used for your signature piece, like a sports jacket, like a tweed jacket. So having tweed trousers, it's going to be hard to marry it nicely within the outfit. Now, if you're wearing a tweed jacket and you've got matching tweed trousers, you've got a suit, so that's not a problem. But I guess the point would be, if you're wearing tweed trousers with something which is a little less, you know, flamboyant on the top half, maybe say, shall we say a navy blazer, I think that's fine as well, as long as you've got something powerful on one half of your body. If you're wearing tweed trousers, which have got lots of pattern on the bottom, wear something simple and, you know, quite elegant on the top half. What I would recommend against is having two different types of tweed, trousers and jacket. That's not going to look good. Or something busy on the bottom half, like tweed, and something busy on the top half, maybe a boating blazer or something like that. Balance it out. If you're going to have one half which is, you know, quite sort of powerful in its appearance, make the other half simple. That's all I will say. But otherwise, tweed's great. Warm, woolly, and it's ideal. But just make sure it's in a nice, even balance in your outfit. Okay, next question from, what's this? Lindro de Vera. Okay, I hope I've said that right. Hi Ash, I'd like to know more about in-house chapmanship. What would a gentleman wear within the premises of his own home? Well, I guess it really depends on the time of year, doesn't it? You know, if it's the summertime. Now, I'm a big fan of being what I would term as a contemporary chap. This is, or what I mean by that, is I am not a slave to tradition or convention, all right? It is all about function over form, right? So I'm not going to wear, you know, a Victorian housecoat at home, because although it would probably be quite warm, it's just not really in keeping with the modern way of life, the contemporary way of life. So I'm a contemporary man. So I like to dress nicely, but not to a point where it becomes burdensome to do so. So, I'm going to say when I'm at home in the summertime, I'm more than likely just going to wear a shirt. And I probably wear chino trousers, and I would probably be wearing a pair of slippers. If I'm at home, or if I'm in the garden or something, probably a pair of desert boots. Really pared down, simple, function over form. It's different if I go out, obviously I'll dress that up a little. But if I'm at home, I'm dressing for the moment. This time of year, you might think I'm a little more formal, because this time of year I tend to wear a cotton t-shirt or a button-down collared shirt, and over that my sort of traditional wear is a shawl-collared woolen cardigan. Now I've got two of these. I've got a navy one and a black one. They're identical to each other, and I bought them from North Sea Clothing, fabulous British knitwear manufacturer, a number of years ago now. Very, you know, sort of thick gauge, woolen, natural British wool, and they are so warm and corseting. They keep me wonderfully warm, but they're sufficiently stylish that when I'm doing things from home, like doing you know, the odd Zoom meeting or doing a webinar at home, it's stylish enough that it is also appropriate for that sort of situation, as well as keeping warm. Bottom half of my body, I'll be wearing chinos. That's what I tend to wear. That's what I'm wearing now. That's what I'd be wearing almost every other day in the winter. And that suits me just fine. So really quite straightforward. Slippers, tend to wear slippers by British brand Drapers, which is made probably 25 miles away in Glastonbury in Somerset. They do wonderful handmade sheepskin slippers, and that's me. Stylish? Maybe. probably a little more formal than most. If you're sitting at home now in your pyjamas, or you're sat there wearing jogging bottoms and a hoodie, I do dress somewhat differently to that. But there we go, just me. No right, no wrong answer. Okay, here we go. Next one. Bond up north. My question is, Christmas in your household, do you have any traditions, and how would you dress for the big day? Well, for the big day, how do I dress? Well, very similar to what I've just described, to be honest, because it is another day in the house. So I'm not going to be wearing, a sort of three-piece suit around the house. I'll probably wear a shirt, and I would probably wear a nice blazer, if I'm having dinner. But for the rest of the day chilling out, it's just going to be the woolly cardigan with chinos, and it's comfort at the end of the day. I'm in the bosom of my family, so I want to be comfortable and enjoy the day. The traditions of the day, and I will talk you through what happens in my house on Christmas Day. And it is quite simply, we will normally wake up about 6 a.m. because I've got a 13-year-old boy, and although the magic of Christmas has taken on a different sort of view for him now, we're not expecting Father Christmas, but he still enjoys Christmas and opening gifts and the like. So, and we are early risers in my house anyway. I rise at 6 every day, and that's Christmas Day and every other day. So we will get up about 6, but unlike any other day, we will, rather than jump out of bed and get on with life, we will perhaps just sit in bed. We're a family of 3, my wife, my son and I. So he will come and join us in our bedroom, and he will normally sit in bed with us and open his Christmas stocking, which will have some small gifts for him. And my wife will do the same with hers, and I will do the same with mine, the little gifts that we exchange. Then I'll probably go down and make a cup of tea for us at that time, so we'll have a comfortable seat in bed. And then we will go downstairs, and our Christmas tradition, which we also do on every birthday, so we have 3 birthdays in our house a year, we will have a bacon sandwich for Christmas and on our birthday days. It's a little treat, because we're quite clean eating family. A bacon sandwich feels a real deluxe luxury for us. So we will enjoy that bacon sandwich. And then, around the Christmas tree, our son Alex will open any other gifts that have been left for him under the tree by that mystical fat man in the red outfit. And then is the round of family activity. So we are very fortunate as a family. We live in a small village of less than probably about 1,000 people. And we're lucky enough that Rachel's parents, my in-laws, live 50 metres from our house, in another house some distance away. And then my parents both live in a house probably about 300 metres away. So we will go and visit Rachel's parents, and she's got a larger family with brothers and sisters, and they all come to stay in the big house with their children. So it'll be a very manic family atmosphere. There'll be, I think, quite a few kids present. I'll have a glass of sherry with my brother-in-laws and my father-in-law, whilst everybody catches up and shares tales of what they've had for Christmas. Then we go back home. I'll prepare dinner. I'll have prepared most of it the day before, to be honest. I normally cook the turkey the day before, so it's allowed time to rest overnight. And then I'll go and collect my parents from their home, because even though it's not far away, they're getting on a bit now. They don't like walking great distances, so I'll go and bring them up to the house, and they will give their gifts that they've got for Alex. So there'll be a little bit of present opening, and then we will have our traditional family Christmas dinner, probably about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And it'll be a time where we'll sit down. It's a full turkey dinner, and just a wonderful sharing of maybe the best meal of the year for all of us who are present. Even the cat gets some turkey for Christmas Day. And then after that, we retire to the lounge, where we will, of course, as good British subjects, be present for the King's annual address to his subjects at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And it's quite a poignant moment. Last year particularly, as it was the first year for our new King Charles, and the first without our beloved late Majesty the Queen. But this year we will look forward to seeing what the King has to say for us, to inspire us and motivate us to the year ahead. And then really it's just a matter of taking it easy for the rest of the day. We sit and watch the TV, we'll have a few glasses of sherry. My wife will probably pop down and see her parents again, and then that is it. it's what you might call a restful Christmas, no travelling, all local, close to home, good eating, couple of drinks, and just special time. I hope your Christmas bears some resemblance to that. I know I've had many Christmases when I was in the military and when I worked in law enforcement, when I was away from home. I was in other countries even. And, it was something I missed deeply, having that family sort of special day. So I really savour the ones which I have ahead of me now. So there we go. As I say, hope yours is just as good as mine. Next question comes from Dimarco Oh god, this is tough. You guys got some names on your questions here. Dimarco Drahai. Sorry if I've said that wrong. Question is, I need to hear it from the chap's mouth. What is it with all of these UFOs? Okay, UFO? An unidentified flying object, I guess you're referring to. I can say that I am 53, nearly 54. I've spent a lot of time travelling the world, and I've spent a lot of time working nights. When I was in law enforcement particularly, I would often be working in rural areas, driving around in sort of the backwater of nowhere, in deepest, darkest parts of the UK. And many times I used to think to myself, you know what, this is exactly the sort of scenario where you hear that a guy like me, a cop on night patrol, encounters a UFO. And I was always open to it, but I never once saw one. And I never actually encountered, I've never seen one, and nobody I know has ever seen one. I've never encountered anything of that nature. That doesn't mean I don't believe in them. I will give you an insight into my mind here, all right? I believe, now I'm not a man of, religious faith or spiritual leanings, so I believe in an evolutionary human progression on this planet, and it is my belief that if that's happened, if there has been, the Big Bang, Earth was created, evolution took place, dinosaurs, mammals and so on, and where we are today is just one part of an evolutionary process that humanity is going on. Where it will end, we don't know. We're not going to be here. We will be dust. But it's all part of that process. And I believe that the universe has taken a similar direction. You look up at the sky at night, at the millions or billions of stars which are visible to your eye, and you know that that is just a tiny part of the universe. And if that is the case, this vast, almost unimaginable entity which is the cosmos, is it really fathomable that we are the only forms of intelligent life in all of that existence? And to me, the answer is, well, of course not. There must be other beings similar to ourselves or totally different, which exist elsewhere in the universe, the galaxies, the many of them that there are. So it's not beyond the realms of feasibility that some of those are far more advanced than our society, and they have discovered, interstellar travel, and they may have passed by our planet to see what's going on and have decided, not to get involved. It's nothing to do with them. I'm sure we would be the same if we passed by, other species or worlds which were not as advanced as ours. So, in answer to your question, that's just my hypothesis. It probably is beings from another world who maybe be tourists to our world, but don't wish to reveal themselves at this point. Let me know what you think out there. Okay, so next question from Nina. Has your time in the military and on the police force taught you anything about situational awareness and personal safety? Are you scanning the room as you walk in? Are you mentally identifying friend from foe as you and your family are out in a public place? Well, that's a really good question, Nina, and I know you to be an American gentleman, so it's probably a little more pertinent for yourself than it is for me, because I live in a country where safety is a little bit more of a given, all right? We don't have mass shooting incidents really in the UK. Firearms are extremely rare in this country. I was a cop for 23 years, and only in 2 occasions was I ever involved in anything to do with firearms, and one of those, the firearm was a replica, wasn't even a real one. So, we probably have a different ideology to the way that we approach safety in this country, right? It is a largely incredibly safe country, the UK. So when I'm out and about, I tend to be less vigilant these days because I know I kind of take for granted safety. Now, when I'm in a big city, obviously, I may be in London, and I may at some times find myself in a place where it's less salubrious. And then my sort of spider senses go on to alert, and I'm very conscious and careful about where I go. I, weigh people up. I'm using my sort of previous experiences to assess danger and risk as I go through life. You do these things almost instinctively. I found myself doing it the other day. I was away somewhere with my family. We went into a restaurant for a meal, and I instinctively sat with my back to the wall so I could scan the room to make sure that I could see what was going on. I did not want to have my back to the room. I wanted my back to the wall so I could see, what was happening. So those sort of things do become somewhat instinctive. I hear of other people, perhaps in law enforcement, who will say they instinctively, if they carry a briefcase, they carry it in their left hand, so it leaves their right hand free to go for their sort of, personal protective equipment. But that's where we are. I mean, I wouldn't say it's something which weighs heavily upon me because I live in the UK, and I live in a part of the UK for which violence is extremely rare, and sort of the type of things which I guess you're referring to, which I see in the news from other nations, particularly the US, they simply are a thing of fantasy for this country. I'm very pleased to say so. I hope that answers your question, which is, in short, yes, I am much more conscious of it. I am acutely aware of the dangers which certain situations may bring. So I tend to use my skills, my knowledge, to stay away from them. And that's kind of how I deal with it. So now my last question is a name again, which I'm going to have difficulty speaking. It's Vic Lucy Zia. Okay, long-time viewer. I thought it was all one big word there. I recognise you now. Vic Lucy Zia says to me, how about voting? Should a chap distance himself from politics in general and stand impartial? Politics and political views can bring people together, or on the other side result in a loss of friendship, not to mention create havoc, altercations among politicians, which even become physical. I myself never voted in my life, and I never will. When politics are a topic, I always stay in the background. And that's a great question, Vic, because you make a point. Politics are so divisive, aren't they? Wherever you live. And certain countries, of course, politics are much more divisive. I was only reading an autobiography the other day. In fact, it was by Sam Neill, the New Zealand screen actor. And I thought to myself, in his autobiography, he made reference to his political leanings several times. And I thought, he's quite a political fellow. I didn't realise that New Zealand was so politically charged. I know in the United States, it seems to be a country where there's a lot of political sort of, difference where, you have one party and the other party, and they can form quite sort of definite walls around each other, and it can be very difficult for people to interact if you share different political ideologies. So your question is very valid. For my own point, I do vote, but I don't vote with any deep-seated, overwhelming belief in any one political party. In the UK, the voting system is very similar to the US to a degree. There are two main parties. Typically, one or the other will hold power. It's the Conservative Party and the Labour Party here in the UK. Red and blue, as it is in so many other places. And it depends on your upbringing, your background, your sort of role models in life, typically, which is where people will fall politically. I'm somewhat different because, I was born and brought up in an incredibly blue-collar sort of existence, very tough childhood in an environment, in an area where, there was a lot of poverty, and naturally there would be a leaning towards a certain party, which has always tended to be the one for those sort of people in that situation. But for me, I keep a very broad mindset. I mean, I do vote out of a desire to exercise my right as a voting member of the country, as a subject of this country. I think it's important to play a part in the democratic process, but I don't get too sort of, drawn into it at all. If a party impresses me, regardless of their colour, if they're blue or red, and if their manifesto appeals to my philosophy to life, I will vote for them. or vote for my local representative for that party, which is of course how the democratic process works here in the UK. You vote for your local member of parliament, and then the political party which has the most members of parliament, the majority, forms the government. It's as simple as that. So for me, we're not voting for one man. It's not a presidential style of government here, as you I'm sure utterly aware. So it's very much more democratic process. It tends to be less divisive as a consequence. So because it's not personality driven to a degree, we're not voting for one man like a president. We do not tend to have that personality bias. If you hate that individual, you tend to be vehemently against them. We don't have that, because in the last political sort of cycle here in the UK, we've had several prime ministers during this one government. We started off with Boris Johnson, we had Liz Truss, now we've got Rishi Sunak, and that's been in one cycle. So, the Prime Minister can change. Nobody voted for any of those individuals to be our Prime Minister. So it's not quite as divisive. I would agree with you entirely, Vic. If I was in a room full of people who were, intent on talking politics, I would keep my mouth shut. And I think that is the classy way to do it, unless you have a strong desire to get into an argument with people. But that's just my observations. And I hope that sheds some light on it. So for me, the gentlemanly thing to do is never talk about politics, never talk about religion. That way, or to a degree, don't talk about money either. Because that way, you can't offend anybody, you can't rub anybody up in the wrong way, you're not going to get into an argument with somebody who is totally opposed to your viewpoint, and generally, then you can have conversations about the things which are more important in life, like sport and style. So there we go. That's the end of my questions. I hope you've enjoyed this fireside chat from Oak Lodge over this festive period. If you have, I would encourage you, of course, give the video a thumbs up, click subscribe if you'd like to see more. You can support the channel simply by leaving me a comment. You can drop me an email. You can practically support me by buying me a coffee, one-off thing, or you can even become a patron, and you will benefit from the additional video content which I make exclusively for my patrons every week. And you can find out how to get involved with all of that in the show notes below. So until the next time, take care. And from my fireside to yours, I'll see you again very soon.